Hey guys, it's Brent here from Craft. Had a tutorial request just seeing how we can control material parameters with the sequencer. I just had to do a little bit of digging into some older projects just to work out how to do it. And it's really simple. It's a lot more simple than you'll think. So I've just done a very simple setup here. Just the spheres with a material instance. And this is being played in editor now with the sequencer on loop. So in that sphere, I'm controlling emissive. This one is color. That one's emissive and color. And this one's a bit of color and roughness. And then for an opaque material domain, we've got opacity. We can change the opacity, we can change the color, and we can change both as well. So I'll show you how I set this up. Really simple. First and foremost is you're going to need to set up a master material that you'll create instances from, and I have one already set up here. It's very simple, so I'm not going to do it again. Got a basic color parameter, a roughness parameter, and emissive. So whatever you really want to control in your material needs to be a parameter that is accessible via a material instance, and you can control it via sequencer. So it's actually quite powerful. So that's as simple as that. There's the sequence material. For my opacity one, it's pretty much the same thing, other than I've got an opacity parameter here, and obviously the material blend mode is translucent. I've made fancy translucent here with surface translucency volume, but don't worry about that. It just makes it look a bit nicer. So I'm going to leave that. And from those, from my sequence material here, I'm just making sure that the parameters are showing up here. I've got emissive and I've got roughness and I've got color. And the same for this one. I've got emissive, opacity, roughness, and color. And we won't really play with emissive. Emissive looks a bit strange with the translucent materials. But yeah, anyway, so let's do that. So what else we're also going to need here is a sequence. I've already got one set up here, so I'm basically going to go into what I've actually done here. But what I'll do is actually just delete the controls for the actual colors and whatever else, the parameters, so we can do those fresh. And there we go. So they're all sitting here, and at the moment they'll be sitting with the default values on the material instance, which is sitting here, and that's pretty much it. So let's go. I've just named these as spheres correctly so I know what I'm dealing with, I don't get confused. So our first one, I'm just going to put it at the top here, is dealing with emissive. So let's do some emissive stuff. So the first thing you want to do is add a track. And what we need to get, sorry, so I'm going to click on the right one here. What we need to get is a reference to the static mesh, which is the sphere. So if you have a look under your track, you've got something called components. So we're actually going to reference the component. And on that, we can create another track. And in here, we've got a whole bunch of different things we can do with that actual static mesh. It's a lot more than just your base mesh. And we've got something called material parameters. So if we click on that, we now have something material element 0, and that'll be referenced in your material slots. This is element 0. So if you had multiple materials on one static mesh, you can actually create references to all of those within here, which is quite powerful too. So that being said, on the material element 0, let's add a parameter, and there you go. You can see my parameters that I've created in that material are showing up. So we're going to control emissive on this one. And let's do a little bit of stuff on emissive. So let's start emissive at 0. Around the halfway mark, let's go up to 100. Really bright, and then we'll go back down to 0. If we have a look, we'll just play. So that'll cycle from 0 to 100 back to 0. That one's working. Same again. Now we want to do something with color. So back to there. Same story again. Let's add a track. Status mesh components. Add a material elements. Now we're going to change our color. Color is a little bit more complicated, obviously, because we've got all these different RGB values, but not to worry. Pull that back to where it was, sitting with white at the moment. So we'll split this up in 4 colors. Let's just go to the end, and I will just key this as white again. So we'll move from white through the other colors back to white. So at about a quarter or so, let's just make red 0. Halfway, we'll make red 1 again, but we'll make G 0. Over here, we'll make this one again, we'll make blue 0. So we're basically just cycling through those different colors and back to white. And that's pretty much it. Now cycling through our colors, through our sequencer. A little bit more complicated. Let's do the emissive and the color. Add a track, static mesh components, material parameter. We'll add color, and we'll add emissive. I'm not going to go and recreate those key points again. It's a little bit of emission, so I'll just take the emissive from here. On that, just make sure you're at the beginning of the timeline. Just paste those in. Again with the color. I'm just going to take those elements there, and I'll just paste them here for color. So that one now is doing emissive and color. Similarly again, I think you guys are getting the gist of it. I don't think I need to go through all of these on how I've actually done it, because the process is exactly the same. What I will show is perhaps the opaque one. Again, static mesh components, element 0. We're actually going to change the roughness now. And what it'll always start with in your material instance is the default roughness as soon as you place it. So what we'll do, let's cycle from 0. Let's cycle from 1. So let's go back here. Cycle from 1 to 0 to 1. A little bit difficult to see how the roughness is changing here as the material is white. So what we're going to do is just add a color to it. Add a simple color just so we can see what's going on here. Let's delete those, it's automatically keying them. Excuse me. It's my dogs. Set that to let's make that 0. And maybe just play around with this a little bit, make it a bit darker. Key that, so we'll keep that there. And now we're actually just going to cycle through our roughness. Quite simple, guys. So there we go. All we go through is, yeah. I don't know if it's worth me going through the opacity one, but let's quickly just show opacity. They'll use the exact same methodology as I've just shown you here. All we're going to do is just go. What's different is it's not carrying the other material, it's carrying our material opacity material instance, which again I showed you. It's got an opacity. It's got an opacity parameter. Let's go back here. Static mesh components, quite simple elements, and I'm going to add its opacity all the way to the beginning. So we'll start at 0. We'll key that. We'll go to the middle. And we'll key that at 1. Go to the end and key that at 0. Quite simple. And there we go, guys. If you want, you can create it obviously opacity with color, and then I had opacity and color blended, as you would have seen in the beginning. But there we go. Simple enough, all controlled through sequencer. Just a quick one on the sequence. All I've done on the sequence itself is set it to autoplay, and obviously to loop indefinitely, just so it'll keep looping. But that's pretty much it, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. If you have any other requests, this is obviously through the VR Division community. If you have any requests, just hit me up on VR Division, and I'll happily help you out. Cheers.